Good afternoon, everyone. I first want to say I'm very honored to be here today, and also thank you so much for having me. So before I go into my presentation, I thought I'll spend a few minutes explaining what I will be speaking about today. So one thing I think each of you here know is that in today's world, businesses are no longer solely measured by their bottom line. ESG considerations are also now a critical factor for the success of any business. So today, during my presentation, I will speak to you a bit about the evolving landscape of ESG reporting and the impact it has, or the potential impact it has on the business. Also, I want to highlight how ESG reporting is not just a compliance issue, but it's a strategic driver for an organizational transformation, and how each of us as leaders within our respective organization can be change agents. To start off with, I thought I'll spend a bit of time to explain what ESG is. So as each of you know, ESG is a framework that is embedded into an organization's strategy, and it's in a way which helps each of the organizations generate value for each of its stakeholders. Also, ESG employs sustainability as a management framework and as a management process, and this helps us to identify and mitigate any environmental, social, and governance impacts, as well as helps us to identify the risks. And then, of course, ESG is also used to measure a company's progress towards achieving a social, environmental and social goal. So then when you think about it, how does embedding ESG assist an organization? So ESG reporting offers a multitude of benefits to each of the business, and then it can also strengthen our financial performance. So overall, having ESG within a business organization helps an organization improve their long-term financial performance. So how you're able to do that is it allows you to understand and see what your risks are, and it helps you to lower that company-specific risk, and also it helps you to understand what the systematic risk factors are within an organization. Then from the other hand, it also helps you to meet the demands of all our stakeholders. See, an investor would want to know that you are conducting, or you are aware of the risk that the organization faces. That is not just the internal risk, but the risk that an external environment brings to your organization. Then, of course, your customer or your consumer would like to know if the products they use are safe, or if the services are done in an ethical manner. And the community wants to know, are you using your resources in a responsible manner? Also to understand, is this taking place in a responsible, are you managing your business in a responsible manner? Then also, it also fosters trust and loyalty among your stakeholders. And also, ESG helps to attract and retain top talent who are increasingly looking at purpose-driven organizations. So then, if you could take a few minutes to kind of understand what is the power of ESG reporting. So, firstly, it compels a company to reevaluate their business model, and also it becomes a strategic tool to unveil hidden opportunities, and also it helps you to kind of understand how do you transform this organization, and also it brings in sustainable practices and ethical conduct. And when we are able to identify our risks and be able to manage it, it also helps us grow, as well as hold us transparent and accountable to our stakeholders, whether it's internal or external. So to identify your ESG risks, the first thing you need to do is identify your impacts first. So here what I'm going to do is I will explain this management framework that you can use as a part of ESG reporting. So as you know, a lot of people think ESG reporting is a compliance, but it's not. It also has a huge benefit to your organization. And how do we get into this? So the first thing, an organization who's looking at entrenching sustainability should do is they need to conduct this thing called a 5-part materiality assessment, where they identify their relevant stakeholders. And then once they identify their relevant stakeholders, they are then aware of what their risks and opportunities are, which is a key part of what ESG is. So with that, you can then establish policies and frameworks. And once you've done that, you can introduce quarterly data tracking mechanisms. That is to understand what is your ESG performance and an improvement that the organization has. And with that, you come up with your benchmarks, you come up with your targets, you come up with your goals. And all this information will help you derive what your ESG or sustainability initiatives should be. So here, why this whole process is important is, in terms of ESG, is that you're not just doing any initiative that comes into mind. The initiatives you do are very relevant to your business, and it's also addressing a concern or a key issue that might have come up with during this stakeholder concern identification. So with that, of course, as the end process is the ESG reporting part of it, where you look at reporting on your ESG factors to your internal and external audiences. And of course, I think as a standard practice, you would also need to have, as a best practice, you would also need to get external assurances from a recognized third party. So now that you understood what ESG is, I have to say that the success of ESG reporting hinges very much on strong leadership. So ESG leaders are the change makers within an organization, and they are able to champion innovation and also to develop sustainable solutions. Then they also are able to prioritize transparency in all communications and reporting. And by building trust with the stakeholders, you as the ESG leader can create a foundation of long-term success for the business. Then also another key thing an ESG leader must have is they need to be adaptable and resilient and able to anticipate future challenges and guide their teams through period of transformation. So if I was to spend time on my last slide, it's basically, I want to say that ESG reporting is not just a tick in the box. It is now becoming very imperative, and it is the future of leadership. So leaders who prioritize ESG considerations are not just following a trend, they're building a more sustainable and equitable future. And by embracing ESG principles and fostering a culture of transparency and accountability, you can also ensure that long-term success of the business. So that's a quick look at ESG reporting and what I think in terms of what a leadership as an ESG leader you need to take. So that's it from me.